I didn't walk into a marriage. I walked onto a battlefield, I just didn't know it yet. And when the truth hit me, it hit like a train. Picture this: you come home early, expecting nothing. You're exhausted, hungry, keys jingling in your hand, brain already thinking about the next day. The house is too quiet. But then you hear it, a laugh that isn't yours, a voice that doesn't belong. I paused in the hallway, heart hammering, every sense on high alert. There it was, Olivia's voice, dripping with the flirty, mocking tone she used on strangers. And then, a man's low chuckle. I didn't freeze. I didn't call out. I moved silently, like a hunter, my feet almost gliding over the hardwood floor. I saw their shoes at the door. One pair was hers. The other was some guy's, designer, expensive. Not mine. The living room door was slightly ajar. Through the crack, I saw them, Olivia, my wife, perched on the armrest of the couch, legs crossed, her dress riding up a little too high, her lips wrapped around a glass of red. And next to her, relaxed, hand stretched out on her thigh, was Ryan, a man I'd never seen before, but one who looked way too comfortable for someone just helping around the house. "Are you sure your husband won't mind?" Ryan asked, his voice low, confident, like he knew the answer already. Olivia smiled, that cruel little smile she reserved just for me when she thought I was weak. "He does what I say. If he wants me to stay loyal, he follows my rules. Or keeps his mouth shut. It's simple, really." The blood rushed to my head. But instead of storming in, I just stood there, silent. For a split second, I wanted to scream. To break something. But I forced myself to watch. That was my first move in a game she didn't even know she was playing. I watched as Ryan leaned in closer. Olivia laughed, tossing her hair back, and traced her finger along his arm. They clinked glasses, celebrating something I wasn't part of. Every second was a new slap in the face. And then, my phone vibrated in my pocket. Olivia glanced at the door, eyes narrowing. For a moment, I thought she'd caught me. But no, she was too wrapped up in her own world to notice. Ryan slid his hand higher on her thigh. She didn't stop him. She didn't even flinch. I stepped back, breath shallow, trying to make sense of the chaos spinning in my head. This wasn't some late-night argument. This was war. And I'd just discovered enemy territory inside my own home. I left the house without a word. My hands were shaking, but my mind was clearer than it had been in months. No more wondering. No more suspicion. It was real, right there in front of me, no way to deny it. Out on the street, the city noise barely registered. I stood under the streetlight, phone in hand, watching the notifications pile up from work, from friends. None of them had a clue my world just imploded. I looked up at our living room window. I could see their shadows moving behind the curtain. That's when I made a choice. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to plead. And I sure as hell wasn't going to let her win. She wanted a game. She was about to find out I played for keeps. That was the night everything changed. The next morning, the house felt different, colder, sharper, like every wall was listening. Olivia acted as if nothing happened. She was at the kitchen table in her robe, scrolling her phone, coffee steaming beside her. She didn't even look up when I entered. "Morning," she muttered, eyes glued to the screen. I watched her, wondering how many mornings she'd pulled this off, same smile, same routine, but secrets burning beneath the surface. I poured myself a coffee and sat across from her, letting the silence stretch. I wanted her to crack first, to see if even a flicker of guilt would appear. Nothing. Just that bored, smug face. I needed proof, not just suspicions. So I played along, acting like the clueless husband she expected. "Plans today?" I asked casually. She shrugged. "Yoga. Maybe brunch with the girls." She didn't even bother selling it. As soon as she left, I got to work. I tore through her usual hiding spots, bathroom drawers, the closet, her purse. Most of it was empty or filled with old receipts. But tucked inside a book on her nightstand was a hotel keycard and a receipt for champagne, yesterday's date, last night's time. Room 214. My heart thudded, not with shock but with confirmation. She wasn't even being careful. Later that day, I started connecting the dots. Her late-night texts, the unexplained credit card charges, her sudden interest in new clothes and perfume. All the things I chalked up to just being Olivia were evidence. Every lie she told me now felt like an insult. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, replaying the scene over and over. Her voice, cold and commanding, echoed in my head, "If you want me to stay loyal, you'll obey my rules." I realized I'd been obeying her rules for months, living in a cage I didn't see until the door was wide open. But I wasn't the same man anymore. I started planning. I copied her phone data to my laptop, photos, texts, everything. I looked up Ryan online. Turns out he wasn't just some handyman, he was a personal trainer at a gym across town, recently divorced, and judging by his social media, way too familiar with my wife. They had been tagging each other in inside jokes for weeks. Their training sessions were more like private parties. The next day, I followed her. Not subtle, just enough distance to watch, to study. She didn't notice. She was too busy texting, laughing to herself as she walked into the gym. Ryan greeted her at the front desk with a hug, and they disappeared into the back room. I waited outside, gripping the steering wheel, every minute sharpening my focus. An hour later, they came out laughing, arms brushing, and Olivia kissed him goodbye, right there in the parking lot. I snapped a photo with my phone. That image burned into my mind, proof that whatever game she thought she was playing, she'd just handed me every card I needed. Back home, Olivia was back in wife mode. She made dinner, asked about my day, pretended to listen. I watched her, every movement, every fake smile. She was completely unaware the walls were closing in. That night, as she slept, I sent the photo to myself, to a separate email account, backup. I went through her messages again. The lies piled up. She told Ryan I was pathetic, obedient, wouldn't dare stand up to her. That was the final straw. My anger boiled, not hot, but ice cold, methodical, clear. She didn't respect me. She didn't even fear me. She thought I was a joke. Fine. She wanted a game? I'd make sure she lost everything. The next day, my plan was set. I woke up earlier than Olivia and made coffee, acting as if nothing in the world had changed. She waltzed into the kitchen, her silk robe barely tied, and gave me a look like she owned the place. She always did that, moved like the world owed her, like everyone was a pawn in her private game. She poured herself a cup and sat opposite me, scrolling her phone, probably texting Ryan. "Anything interesting today?" she asked, not even looking up. I grinned. "Might go to the gym. Thought I'd try something new." I watched her reaction, saw her fingers tighten around her mug. A flicker of nervousness. Good. For the first time, she was unsure. I left the house, not for the gym, but for a lawyer's office. No more sitting around waiting for her to decide if I was worth respecting. The divorce attorney, Mr. Lawson, was direct, my kind of guy. He laid out everything, what I'd need, how to gather evidence, how to protect my money, how to stay 2 steps ahead. He saw the fury in my eyes and didn't waste time with sympathy. Back at home, Olivia was on a phone call, her tone sweet, giggly, then sharp as a knife. She spotted me in the doorway, instantly switching to her loving wife voice. "Oh, I'll call you back. My husband's home," she announced with fake enthusiasm, blowing me a kiss as she hung up. I ignored her and walked past, straight to my office. She followed, arms crossed, blocking the doorway. "What's up with you lately, Jack? You're acting weird." I looked her in the eye. "Am I? Maybe I'm just tired of your games." Her face twisted, first confusion, then irritation. "Games? Please. Don't start this drama." I told you before, if you want this marriage to work, you do what I say. You want me to stay loyal? Start acting like a man. That was her favorite insult, used to belittle, to make me question myself. This time, I just stared at her, calm and cold. Is that why you spend so much time with Ryan? Her eyes widened. For a split second, real fear. But she recovered fast. He's a friend. Maybe if you spent more time taking care of yourself, I wouldn't have to get advice from other people. I almost laughed at her audacity. You really think I'm that stupid? She scoffed. You always have been. That's why I make the rules, Jack. You just follow. Her voice was dripping with venom, with that same contempt I'd heard in the kitchen with Ryan. If you want me, you obey. Or you get out. Simple. I stepped closer, lowering my voice so she had to listen. I'm done following your rules, Olivia. I'm done pretending. You want to keep playing this game? You're not going to like how it ends. For the first time, she looked shaken. But her pride was too big, her ego too loud. Empty threats. You wouldn't dare. You're nothing without me. I left her standing in the hallway, storm clouds brewing in her eyes. The rest of the day, she tried to win back control, texts about dinner, fake smiles, even a pathetic attempt at flirting. But the mask was slipping, and underneath was pure desperation. That night, I started moving my money, locking down my accounts, changing passwords. Olivia didn't notice, she was too busy texting, too sure I'd never actually fight back. She was wrong. She'd broken the rules. And this time, I was writing the ending. I barely slept that night, but I didn't care. I was done being the silent fool in Olivia's twisted game. By sunrise, I'd locked down every bank account, hidden my savings, and set alerts for every financial move. My lawyer was on speed dial. The house, my house, finally felt like something I owned again, not a playground for Olivia's dirty secrets. That morning, she put on an act, sweet as syrup, asking if I wanted pancakes, kissing my cheek like nothing was wrong. She was laying it on thick, desperate to keep control. But her phone kept buzzing, and every time it did, she twitched, checking for messages from Ryan, her so-called friend. I watched her like a hawk, every gesture, every lie, every sugar-coated insult. Around noon, Olivia dropped the act. We need to talk, Jack, she announced, suddenly cold, arms folded like she was the one wronged. I'm tired of your attitude. If you can't trust me, maybe you should leave for a few days. Give me space. I stared at her, holding her gaze. Give you space for what? More meetings with Ryan? I asked, voice calm, almost bored. She didn't even bother denying it. At least he listens to me. Maybe you should try it. She stepped closer, her voice dropping low, almost threatening. Remember what I said, Jack. If you want me to stay loyal, you do what I say. Or just shut your mouth and stay out of my way. I just smiled. You really think I'm going to beg? You think you're untouchable? She rolled her eyes, scoffing. You wouldn't dare do anything. You're too scared of being alone. Too scared to lose me. You need me. For a second, I almost pitied her. She was so used to walking all over me, she didn't realize the ground had already shifted. I wasn't the same man she could humiliate in front of her friends. I was already setting up the trap, and she was walking right into it. That evening, I called her bluff. I told her I'd be going away for a few days, needed time to think. She didn't even try to hide her excitement. Fine, go. Don't bother coming back until you're ready to grow up, she spat, already texting under the table. I packed a bag, drove around the block, and parked on a side street. Through the window, I watched the lights go out, then flicker on upstairs. 15 minutes later, a black SUV pulled up, Ryan, right on cue. He didn't bother being discreet. Olivia opened the door in her robe, let him inside, and just like that, my suspicions became facts. I filmed everything from my car, her greeting him, their shadows crossing the hall, the bedroom light switching on. 30 minutes later, they were back downstairs. Laughing, Olivia's voice floating out the open window, "He's such an idiot. Thinks I'm at yoga. As long as he follows my rules, he can stay." She said it like I was some stupid pet. That was the final trigger. No more doubt, no more waiting. I sent the footage to my lawyer, along with every screenshot, every text, every hotel receipt I'd collected. I wanted her to feel the walls closing in. I spent the night at a friend's place, Mike, a guy who'd been warning me about Olivia for years. He didn't gloat, didn't say, "I told you so." He just handed me a beer, sat down, and listened as I laid out every rotten detail. That night, for the first time in months, I slept like a rock. Not because things were okay, but because I was finally doing something about it. Tomorrow, Olivia would wake up thinking she'd won. She had no idea her whole world was about to collapse. The next morning, I walked back into my house as if nothing had happened, keys jangling, face calm. Olivia was in the kitchen, looking fresh and victorious, humming while making coffee. She glanced up, surprised to see me. "Didn't expect you back so soon," she sneered, raising an eyebrow. I shut the door behind me, dropped my bag, and stared her down. "Change of plans. We need to talk. Now." My voice was cold, dead calm, and for once, it actually caught her off guard. She put her mug down and folded her arms, glaring. "About what, Jack? Are you going to whine again about trust and respect?" She rolled her eyes, that contemptuous smirk plastered across her face. "Save it." I took out my phone and set it on the counter, screen facing up, showing the photos, the videos, every scrap of evidence. Olivia's face paled, lips tightening. She tried to recover, scoffing, "What, you spying on me now? You're pathetic." I ignored her. "I know everything, Olivia. All the lies, all the games. I know about Ryan, the hotel, the money you've been sneaking out of our accounts. You can stop pretending now." For a split second, the mask dropped. Then she laughed, shrill, cold, ugly. "So what? Maybe if you weren't such a boring loser, I wouldn't have to find real company elsewhere. Did you ever think of that?" She stepped closer, anger flashing in her eyes. "You always were weak, Jack. That's why I did it. Because I could. I stood my ground. You think I'm weak? You think you're invincible? You're not. You broke every rule, Olivia. And you're going to pay for it." She shoved past me, grabbing her purse. "Please. You're not going to do anything. You never do. You're all talk. I'm the one who makes things happen around here." She paused, voice turning venomous. "Honestly, I'm glad you know. I'm sick of hiding it. I deserve better than you." I let her rant. Every word made it easier to hate her, easier to let go. I pulled the divorce papers from my bag and slid them across the counter. "Sign these. Today. Or I take all this straight to court, to your family, to Ryan's ex-wife, to anyone who'll listen. You'll lose everything, money, reputation, the house. And I'll make sure everyone knows who you really are." Olivia stared at the papers, her composure finally slipping. "You wouldn't dare." I leaned in, voice flat. "Try me." There was a long, ugly silence. Olivia's confidence cracked, replaced by fury. "You're such a piece of work, Jack. You think you're finally in control? Fine. Have it your way. But don't think I'll make it easy for you." She grabbed a pen and scrawled her signature, practically stabbing the page. "Enjoy your little victory. You're still nothing." I picked up the papers, stuffing them into my bag. "We'll see." Olivia stormed upstairs, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. I stood there for a minute, letting it all sink in. The shouting, the insults, the years of pretending, over in a single morning. I texted my lawyer, "It's done." Relief hit me like a wave. I finally felt like myself again. Outside, the sky was bright and clear. I stepped out onto the porch, took a deep breath, and smiled for the first time in months. But I knew Olivia. She wasn't finished. Not by a long shot. The war was just getting started. It took Olivia less than an hour to launch her counterattack. She came back downstairs, eyes blazing, face twisted with rage. She didn't even look like the woman I once married. "You want a war, Jack? Fine. You'll get one," she hissed, snatching her phone off the counter and punching in numbers. Minutes later, I heard her voice in the hallway, fake tears and trembling sobs pouring into the receiver. "Yes, Mom, it's Jack. He's threatening me. I'm scared. Can I stay with you for a few days?" She kept glancing over at me, making sure I heard every word. All performance, zero remorse. She packed a bag with dramatic flair, slamming drawers, breaking a picture frame on purpose just to make a scene. "This is what you wanted, right? Enjoy your freedom, loser," she spat, storming out and slamming the door hard enough to rattle my bones. I watched her go, then double-checked every lock in the house. No part of me wanted to chase after her. The silence was beautiful, finally, no more sneering, no more rules. But I knew this was just her opening move. Within hours, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I picked up, "Ryan." "Of course." "Jack, listen. I don't want any drama, man. Olivia said you were making threats. Maybe it's time you let her go and moved on, you know?" His voice was dripping with smug pity, as if he actually thought I was intimidated. "Ryan, you don't know me. And you have no idea what you've stepped into," I replied, voice icy. He kept pushing. "I don't want this to get ugly, but Olivia's tired of your games. You should sign whatever she wants and move on." I nearly laughed. "You two really think you're running the show, huh? Well, newsflash, Olivia already signed. I'm done. And you? You're just a speed bump in her parade. Good luck." Ryan tried to fire back, but I ended the call. I was done playing nice. Olivia was spinning the story, telling her friends, her family, anyone who'd listen, that I was the villain. Social media posts about toxic husbands, carefully filtered photos of her and Ryan together, pity comments rolling in from her army of followers. For a day, it stung. The world saw her as the victim. But behind closed doors, the truth was ready to explode. My lawyer had everything: the footage, the texts, the financial records. The house was mine, the money safe, every step covered. I left nothing to chance. Then came the real bomb. Olivia's parents called me. Her mom, voice trembling with manufactured concern, demanded I do the right thing and let Olivia take whatever she wanted from the house. "She's scared, Jack. She says you're unpredictable." I didn't even flinch. "Ask her what she's really scared of, Mrs. Parker. Ask her what she's hiding." I could almost hear Olivia screaming in the background. They hung up on me. The next morning, a police cruiser pulled up outside. Olivia, standing on the lawn, fake crying for the whole neighborhood to see. She'd filed a complaint, claimed I was harassing her, making threats, making her fear for her safety. The officers were professional, but it was obvious they'd seen this show before. I handed over the documents, explained everything, and showed them the signed divorce papers. They nodded, apologizing for the inconvenience. Olivia stood there, glaring, realizing her tricks weren't working. The neighbors watched in silence as she finally ran out of steam. For once, she had nothing to say. When the cops left, I looked at her, really looked. All the power she'd once held over me was gone. She tried one last time, voice low and desperate. "You'll regret this, Jack. I swear you will." I shook my head, cold and steady. "Not a chance." She stormed off for good. For the first time, I knew I'd won, not just the fight, but my freedom. With Olivia gone, I could finally breathe. But she wasn't finished. Over the next week, her bitterness turned nuclear. She plastered her social media with melodramatic posts, starting over, stronger than ever, endless selfies with Ryan, cryptic messages about escaping toxicity. Every friend we had in common got a personal message from her: "If you hear rumors, just know I did what I had to for my own safety." She was on a mission to burn my reputation to the ground. Some friends distanced themselves, scared of the drama. Others, real friends, reached out, piecing the truth together. Mike, as always, had my back. "She's desperate, Jack. She's flailing. Don't bite. Just keep moving forward." I took his advice. I let Olivia shout into the void. I didn't respond, didn't defend myself. I let my silence eat at her. The hits kept coming. Olivia tried to clear out our joint accounts, but my lawyer had already locked them. She tried to crash at the house while I was at work, so I changed the locks. She tried to drag Ryan into it, parading him around like a trophy. He looked smug at first, but it didn't take long before cracks showed. He wasn't ready for Olivia's drama on full blast. Then came the next attack, a letter from her lawyer, full of demands: half the house, half the money, spousal support. They threatened court, threatened to expose me, threatened to drag everything out in public. What Olivia didn't know was that I'd been ready for this since the day I caught her with Ryan. My lawyer fired back with a mountain of evidence: the infidelity, the financial records, her games, her lies. We had witnesses, receipts, footage. Olivia thought she was the only one with leverage. She was wrong. Her lawyer called a day later, his tone a lot less cocky. The threats dried up fast. Meanwhile, Ryan started to unravel. I heard from mutual friends that he was already fighting with Olivia. She wanted money, wanted commitment, wanted to upgrade her life at his expense. Ryan had never seen her like this, the charming mask long gone. He started texting me, at first, taunts, then confusion, then straight-up desperation. "Man, what the hell did you do to her?" I never answered. Let him figure it out. Olivia, losing her grip, tried one last card. She showed up at my office. She walked in unannounced, loud and angry, demanding I give her what she deserves. My coworkers froze. She started shouting, calling me every name in the book. I didn't flinch. I stood up, calm and collected, and told her if she didn't leave, I'd call security. She tried to slap me, right there in front of everyone. I caught her wrist. "It's over, Olivia. You don't control me anymore." Security escorted her out. She screamed all the way to the parking lot, threatening lawsuits, revenge, whatever poison she had left. I watched from the window, feeling lighter than I had in years. Everyone in the office saw the real her that day. There was no hiding it anymore. After work, I sat with Mike at our favorite bar. "That's it?" he asked, almost disappointed. "No final showdown?" I shook my head. "She already lost. She just hasn't realized it yet." He raised a glass. "To freedom." "To freedom," I echoed, letting the last bit of pain leave with the toast. The war wasn't over in Olivia's head, but for me, the fight was finished. I had survived the storm. Now, I was finally free to start again. After Olivia's public meltdown at my office, something inside me finally clicked into place. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even relieved, I was just done. Done letting her drama pollute my life, done trying to explain myself to anyone. The whole city could have heard her screaming, it didn't matter. I was free. The fallout didn't take long. Olivia's campaign of pity and victimhood ran out of steam. Her family stopped calling. Her friends got tired of the never-ending spectacle. Ryan? He was gone within 2 weeks, ghosting her after one too many late-night tantrums. He blocked her on everything, moved gyms, and by the time I ran into him at the store, he could barely meet my eyes. Turns out, even the real man she'd bragged about couldn't stomach her for long. She tried to drag out the divorce, but my lawyer shut it down fast. With all the evidence, she walked away with nothing but her own bitterness. No house, no money, no support. I signed the final papers without a second thought, and when I left the courthouse, I didn't look back. But there was one thing I couldn't avoid, my own reflection. All the years I'd played the fool, all the times I let myself be controlled, all the red flags I'd ignored. It could have broken me. But it didn't. I decided to own it. I started rebuilding. Not just my finances or my home, but myself. Hit the gym every morning, no more fake advice from Olivia's crowd. Spent weekends with real friends, not people who vanished at the first sign of drama. Got my confidence back, piece by piece. Women noticed. I took my time, not looking for anyone to complete me, just enjoying being free, being myself. One night, Mike and I sat out on his porch, beers in hand, stars overhead. He looked at me and grinned. "You ever think you'd get here, man?" I shrugged, finally able to smile for real. Didn't think I'd survive her. But you know what? I'm better for it. He raised his bottle. "No more games." "No more games," I said, clinking my bottle to his. But the real victory was inside. I'd finally learned what Olivia never could understand: self-respect. The power to walk away, to say, enough, to build something better from the ruins. The power to laugh when people try to drag you down, because you know what you're worth. If I could give advice to anyone in my shoes, it's this: don't wait for someone else to save you. Don't let anyone, no matter how pretty, how clever, how convincing, write the rules for your life. The second someone makes you feel small, that's your cue to stand up. The second someone dares you to obey or shut up, that's your moment to get louder, to take action, to walk out and never look back. Olivia? She's a ghost now. Just a lesson burned deep into my memory, a reminder of what happens when you give the wrong person control. Sometimes you need a war to realize what you're really made of. As for me, I wake up every morning with peace in my chest, not chaos. My home is quiet, my friends are real, and my future is wide open. I'm not angry at Olivia anymore. If anything, I'm grateful. She forced me to stop pretending, to fight for myself, to learn the hardest lesson of all: never hand your life over to someone who only cares about their own. That's my story. And if you're in the same hell, don't waste another day. Trust yourself, fight back, and take your freedom. It's worth every second.